Thank you for joining the Professional Quotient Podcast, Conversations that Build Equity. These conversations are meant to really lift people up and help them put their best foot forward in the professional world. And it's brought to you by our sponsor, MarketScale, who does the same thing for companies around the globe, helping them put their best foot forward by turning their subject matter experts into content creators. So be sure to check them out. And now, we are going to have a conversation that builds equity with a very special guest. Welcome to Professional Quotient, or PQ. I'm your host, Jason Winningham, and today we have a very special guest, Karen Zucker. Karen, would you like to introduce yourself to us?
Sure. I'm Karen Zucker. I'm a longtime friend of Jason Winningham's. I am a wife, a mom, and a grandma, or a Grammy, to 5 grandkids, 4 kids, and a longtime admin in many different realms of administration across the board.
Absolutely. Let's get started with that. So what industries have you worked in, and what are you doing currently?
Okay, so I started in retail many decades ago. I got my first job at the age of 15, and they had to call my mom and ask if I could sell shoes at the store I used to buy my shoes at.
Nice.
And I
Were you
was on
going
the
for the discount?
well, I went for the discount. Of course I went for the discount.
Nice.
I started selling shoes at a very young age, and I loved the retail, loved the interaction with the people, loved the chit chat back and forth, and was selling shoes. Moved to Texas when I was 19, and was still selling shoes. I worked at Prestonwood. I worked at North Park. When things were changing, I was working at Sakowitz, which was a major competitor of Neiman Marcus. And as the market started to change, I wanted to get out of the retail floor. We were having children already at that point when I got married. I wanted to get off the retail floor and spend my Sundays at home during the Cowboy games because I couldn't trust my husband with my kids. So I wanted to get like more 9 to 5 and off on weekends. So I started to get into the administration. I had always been very good at typing and 10 key and all those things. And it was always very organized, just naturally. And I wanted to expand on that and get into the back office. And started, my first job was actually working at my synagogue. I was the first hired executive director of a synagogue where I was a member, and I supported the lead rabbi and was in charge of running the operations of the building. Like, making sure that if somebody had a party, we were letting the vendors in. We were taking care of the kitchen needs. We were taking care of the janitorial needs, making sure supplies were there, making sure the rabbi had what he needed, making sure the newsletter went out, typing up the newsletter, learning desktop publishing on the fly. And that was the first thing I did. And from there, I kept building on it and went to go and work for another friend of mine. And then decided that after 4 years working for a woman that owned 4 or 5 Papagallo stores and 5 Texas Kids stores, I needed a break from my community and my personal life. And I needed to stop working for people I knew, and I needed to go, work for people I didn't know Monday through Friday, and then hang out with people I did know on the weekend. So I went, I think that's when I went to CBRE.
Okay.
And I spent like 20 years in real estate and started a whole new career. Became a licensed real estate associate, supported a team of 18, became their team lead. I was basically the team mom and in charge of everything for a team of 5 lead brokers and lots of other people on the team. There was 18 people on the team total, and in charge of all the invoicing and the books that Jason would help us create. And if I had seen it, if I had touched it, I knew where it was. I could go back and remember it. You just needed to give me a minute to think about where it was. I could find it. If it had been 20 years ago, Steve Ridley said, I know this is from IBM. It's from 6 or 7 years ago. Give me a minute, and I would go find it, and I could pull it out and go, here's the presentation. We don't have a soft copy, but we can recreate it. We can make it better. I felt like we were recreating the Bionic Woman. And then just like I worked for that team on and off for about 10, 12 years. And then they moved downtown. I was living here at 635 and 75, 635 in Preston.
Hmm.
And we were working at 635 in the tollway. And then they moved downtown. I did that for almost 10 years. And after a while, I said, I can't do the tollway anymore, honey. I just can't do the tollway anymore. And I got an offer at the school where all of my kids went to. And it's 2.5 miles from my house. And I've been there now for almost 7 years. And I have reinvented the wheel and brought some semblance of professionalism to a small private day school. And again, I know where all the secrets are buried at that school because I am married to the oldest graduate. I have sent 4 children through that school all the way through from preschool to high school, and I am still there.
Well, that's awesome. I love the breadth of what you shared, and also that you have your key strengths that you were put in there about organization that you've shared with us. For example, you're saying that you can go back and find stuff from 20 years ago. I'm good if I can find something from 20 minutes ago.
Yeah,
So I'm
I can't
impressed.
remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but I can find. I was showing you. I found my resume from 2020. I
Nice.
found it Friday.
Okay.
I mean, that's how far back I can go back, and I know where to look. I found something that I created in 2007 or 2008 when I first started at CB. It was a how-to manual for client service staff that we had to have on our desk in case we were out. It was something for a temp that would be able to sit at our desk and do our job. And I
Mm,
found it. I found my
hmm.
very first resume when I went to go apply from 2012. From I don't
Nice.
remember where it was, but that was the date that this one was saved. So
That's fun. That's fun. So now that you're working at the school, what does your day to day look like?
it's a lot different than it was in corporate. My day to
Okay.
day depends on what happens with students because I am the assistant to the K6. Well, last year was K8 principals for Judaics and General Studies. So I am the last stop before they get to see the principals. If the principals are in a meeting, they have to sit with Mrs. Zucker, and that's not always fun because Mrs. Zucker, especially if you get kicked out of prayer services, Mrs. Zucker goes to the synagogue regularly. Mrs. Zucker knows if you're cheating. What do you mean you're finished with your prayer? You mean you don't stand up when you say this prayer? Because I do. What do you mean you've finished your prayer after eating? Because I didn't hear this prayer. And I say it, so how come you didn't?
Mm.
Or let me see your reflection letter. That doesn't look like a sentence. That doesn't look like a paragraph. And and I've got kids that have been to this school, so I know what's expected.
Now, are they relieved when they finally get to the principal after they
Probably.
go?
They're probably very relieved because the principals are probably a little easier on them. But I know, like, are you ready to write your reflection letter? Or can you tell me what happened so that when the principals get there, it's probably I tell the principals what's happened, or I tell the principal, here's the reflection letter, and it's already like they've broken the ice. So it's not so emotional. Or it's like, there's been a couple of times when it's like, no, he's not ready to talk to you yet because he hasn't spoken to me yet.
Oh, okay. So you're almost the gatekeeper for the
Pretty
principal.
much. But
Okay.
the other stuff, the day-to-day stuff, my day, if it happens in K5 especially, I've either bought it, researched it, purchased it, paid for it, or delivered it to your classroom. Because that's my role is the teacher needs something for an event or the teacher needs something for their classroom. I know where it is, or I have to supply it, or I have to make sure it gets there in time for whatever it is.
Mm.
So
And did you share with us what the title of your current role is?
the official title is office coordinator for K8, well, K5 now.
So office coordinator, which then means you're doing a variety of things for teachers to prep them and also principals to prep them.
Right. So
Like
during the
for,
year, it's very classroom focused. I'm a year round employee. So during the
mm,
summer, it's very curriculum and off and school supply focused,
okay. So it
making
sounds like
sure.
a lot of things. Like you're not so much siloed into I only order curriculum, but you
Right.
do different aspects throughout the year.
Exactly. I do,
Okay.
and not just throughout the year, but siloed for different times of the year. So,
Mm,
like for September, we're going to be hyper focused on making sure we have supplies for the high holy days.
hmm
In November, I'm going to be hyper focused. Do we have what we need for the holiday of Hanukkah? I'm going to be hyper focused in January. Do we have what we need for the holiday for Tu B'Shvat, for the holiday for the trees? It just, at Passover, do we have the supplies we need to have a model Seder? For the day after Passover, do we have what we need for the middle school for Yom HaShoah, which is the Holocaust Memorial Day for the Jewish people? It just, and there's always something going on. After winter break, it's a slalom to graduation. It's
mm,
just straight downhill until we graduate at the end of May. It's like you can't stop it because it's just one thing. It's Passover, and then there's a bunch of celebrations right after Passover, and you
hmm
go right into graduation prep, and it's like you can't even put the brakes on.
Well, you wouldn't want to. We want
No,
them to graduate and get out of there,
and get out
right?
of there and let's just go again.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, can you tell me how is it that you found your way into the school? Is this something that you knew somebody? Like I know you knew a lot of people because your kids went there, but was it a role that somebody said, "Hey, this is coming available," or is it something you just knew was coming
So
up?
no, this is a role that a friend of mine told me was coming available.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, I felt like it was time to leave CBRE, and it was mostly because of the tollway. I my poor husband was getting beat up verbally every day especially coming home. I was so thankful to exit south of 635 every single day. My girlfriend, who also worked in the main office, said, well, I know of a position that's coming up. I don't know, you're probably way overqualified, but if you want to consider it. And I said, well, I'll consider it. It's certainly worth talking to somebody because talk is cheap. And it just fell into our lap, and the amount of money I was saving on the tollway and on gas alone made it worth just considering it. So we decided to take the plunge, and yeah, it was less, but we decided it was worth my sanity to leave corporate America, and I still had a child in school at the time. So mommy is working in the lower school building, and I still have a junior in high school in the high school building while I'm working there. So there I am from 8 to 5 in the lower school building, and then I'm going over to high school basketball games. Rah rah rah! Go go son!
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You're embedded in the community for sure. Absolutely. And a lot of people don't realize this, but Dallas is, in fact, 1 hour away from Dallas.
Right. And North Dallas is 40 minutes of that hour.
Easily, easily. So I totally understand that our traffic has gotten worse and worse as the years go on. And now whenever I'm heading from like the south end of Dallas up to like the Richardson area, it can take me about 2 hours, which is ridiculous.
I
But
know.
it's something that I think is fueling a lot of people to look for roles that are either closer to home or virtual or any of the other options, whether they're hybrid. And so thank you for sharing that somebody let you know about it. And that's kind of how you got in there. Now, when you were shifting careers from retail to real estate, from real estate to schools, how did you go about doing that shift? Was it difficult? Was it like feeling like you had to learn a new language all over again?
The retail to real estate was difficult in that I had to study up when I got there there was, I had someone that helped me out that gave me, I think it was Malou Taylor and a few other people that had handed me a book with some terminology. Like, you had to learn about square footage, you had to learn about area, you had to learn about per square foot. I mean, there, you just had to learn about terminology in the leases that you didn't really understand because you didn't work with it. It's all words that made sense, but didn't necessarily make sense in this application. They made sense if, as long as you understood it, but you didn't understand it until you had to put it into a document in one paragraph, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
Absolutely. It's like
Um,
learning an acronym. It doesn't make sense until you know it, and then it's,
right.
oh, well, of course
Right. It's
that's
like
what it
WYSIWYG.
means.
What you
But
see is what you get. Like, you don't know what that means until you use it. And
yep.
then all of a sudden you're like, oh, duh. Or if you know,
And
you
and
know.
and that particular one was one I just learned about 2 weeks ago for the first time, and I was like, really? That's an acronym? WYSIWYG? Okay.
Yeah. So it's, so I don't, I remember having a list of about, it was like 1.5 pages that I just kept looking at and going, oh, okay, that makes sense. Or
Mhm.
per square inch, or the terminology for HVAC. I had no idea what HVAC was at the time.
Mhm. Sure.
And
Yeah.
like, you just didn't know because you didn't
I
think.
remember learning the terminology net versus triple net. Like some of those were ones that for the longest time I was like, I don't know what this means, but everybody keeps throwing it around, so I kind of had to learn it. And
Right.
and there's a lot of that. And
Or
when people shift from one to like one industry to another, there becomes that learning curve. And the reason I ask is because sometimes people have shared with me that trying to learn everything over again is what prevents them from doing like a career pivot. And that fear of what if I get into an industry and I'm not going to be able to learn it. And
right.
I was just curious if you ever had those kinds of fears when you were pivoting, or if you just kind of, all right, I can learn this, and tell me how you do it.
Well, so my biggest fear was that I am not a school teacher. I am not a teacher in any way, shape, or form. My husband's been a youth director. I've always been adamant. Once we had three, we are not, I am not a youth director. We have our own youth group, and now we have four. We're big enough. Um, and I kept saying, I'm not a teacher. I'm not a teacher. Well, but because I'm a mom, yeah, I got it down. I know what I'm doing. I don't need to be a classroom teacher to set boundaries. Um, so it was less scary than I anticipated. When they put me in a classroom, I just need to know, don't be on your phone, look them in the eye, tell them I don't know the answer to that, but we can ask Mrs. So and so as soon as she gets back.
Hmm.
And just be upfront and be honest. Don't let them intimidate you. That, bottom line, I'm here because she needed to be out of the classroom. I'm not a math teacher. I'm here to make sure you're safe, and let them know that that's why I'm there. But I'm also smart enough to know, and you'll love this one, we have runners in the hall.
Okay.
I have an office. I cannot get around my desk in enough time to catch them before they make it into the bathroom. So what did I do? I put up a rear view mirror on the doorway. I can see who's going in, and I can stand outside the door and say, okay, you go back to your classroom, walk back here, and then go back to your classroom. But why? I said, because you ran here and I'm going to make you walk. But I got to get to class. I said, you should have thought of that before you ran here the first time.
It sounds like you're teaching a whole lot, Karen.
Well, I'm teaching them life skills. I'm just, I'm not teaching them reading, writing, arithmetic.
Hey, there's a lot that we can learn, and it isn't always found in the textbooks.
Right. So there you go.
Excellent. So, as far as your professional career, would you say that you were influenced by anyone to get into the fields that you've been in?
I don't think I was influenced by anyone to specifically get into administration.
Hmm.
I just have an aptitude for it. I just always have been organized. And honestly, my husband, more than anybody, just said, you have this great I just have this ability to be organized. Even when we first got married, when we bought our first house, I was the one who said, don't do that until I do this. Why do you want to do that first? Why put it in the drawer to take it out? Just let me do this first and then I'll do it.
So it sounds like besides just having an organized mind, you also think strategically, like which steps need to go
Which step,
before.
right? This has to go before that so that you can do Z. It's just X, Y, then Z.
Which that leads sense to being in operations as well and having that experience because you really do need to kind of plan out how things are going to go if you're going to be successful. So that sounds like you're well geared mentally for that.
Right.
So when it comes to our professional quotient, I always like to hear from guests which aspect of the professional quotient people feel has the most value, whether that's your skills, your knowledge, your experiences, your education, or your network. Would you be able to answer which you feel is most valuable?
I would say if you can remember, or if you can find it, if you can remember where it is, if you can touch it, if you can find it and use it, that's my biggest. If I've seen it, if I read everything that crosses my desk, if I have read it, if I have seen it, if I have touched it, it will stick with me. It may take me a minute to find it again, like those things that I showed you.
Sure.
That's my number one skill. If I've seen it, I just need a minute and it stays there. It doesn't always come right back up. It'll be like, I know what it is. It'll come to me. And sometimes at 3 a.m, I will go, oh my God, it was, but it happens. And
Absolutely.
that's my number one thing is it see it, read it, take it in, and then put it aside. Because if you just read it, it doesn't have to mean anything to you today, but later on down the line, you'll say, oh, that's what HVAC means. Oh,
Mm,
that's what triple net means.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that. So it sounds like your brain also will be putting things together, like connecting dots kind of after the fact too, for those moments in the middle of
Absolutely.
the night when it says,
Right.
but you're celebrating your PQ as part of your knowledge and your skill of being able to really trap information in and keep it kind of bouncing around inside your skull until you need it.
Until I need it. And hopefully not letting it come out at odd, like, in the middle of a quiet time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, within all of our professional journeys, we each at some point have challenges we need to overcome or circumnavigate. Are there any challenges you feel comfortable sharing that you've overcome in your career?
Well, I have some religious requirements that are difficult to overcome because I have a lot of times that I am unable to work because of religious requirements, and I have been able to overcome them by being available other times, or making it clear that while I am unable to work at these times, I am available up until this time and then immediately following that time. And or if I may not be able to work on Saturday, but I am available on Sundays for a small, for a reasonable amount of time. I mean, I'm willing to work around project times. I'm willing to work around my schedule times. But conversely, I can't work those times, but I'm willing to work around it, which makes a difference. Because if there's a project coming, or I'm able to work around it, like if there's something on a Saturday that I can't work, like for example, the big fundraiser that we used to do at CBRE, I could never go to Chef Showcase because I couldn't trust myself to not work, because I just know me that being there, I would want to work it, and I couldn't go and not work because we were the major provider of the event. And if I went, I wouldn't feel right just going and enjoying while everybody else is working. So I just said, I'm just not going to go.
Mm-hmm.
It just
Hmm.
wasn't worth it to me to make myself miserable to try to not work.
Sure, sure. Now, have you found challenges or obstacles with communicating that you have these boundaries that you're setting and need to observe?
Not in any of the jobs I've held, but there have been jobs that I was not offered, that I would get to the second or the third interview and then negotiations would stop,
Mm,
which was discriminatory probably, but it wasn't offered, so there was nothing I could do at that point, if
mm.
that makes sense.
They found out because you told them, like, I'm going to need to be off Friday afternoon.
Right,
There's no
Friday
working on
afternoon, X amount of
Saturday.
time, right.
And then at that point, your interview just went cold
Yeah,
or,
the interviewing just, or the phone call just said, we found a better applicant, or what, the position was offered to somebody else, or,
Mhm.
or we gave it to another applicant, whatever the situation was. There was that.
So,
There's also been ageism that has been an issue in a few interviews.
well, when it comes to setting boundaries and being able to basically advocate for yourself and say, these are times I'm not going to be working, do you recommend that people do that at the interview stage after they already get the job or some mixture?
In this particular instance, it's something that you have to say. I don't recommend saying it at the first round, but it definitely by the second or third interview. Absolutely. Because it's something, especially in my case, if you're an observant Jew, you absolutely have to say it up front because it's part of your lifestyle. And in my case, there can be as many as 13 days of the Jewish calendar
Hmm.
that are days that you do not work. What I would do after being hired, I had crafted a lovely email every year that said, this calendar year, these are the days, these are the times. And then I would go ahead, me, I would share it, especially with people like Ryan in multi-housing, because he had so many um, clients in New York that were observant. And I would share it with that team because they had people. And I said, feel free to share this with anybody that you want to, because these days are sacrosanct to everybody, and it's not going to change for anybody, and these are the days.
It's a good proactive approach to communication and really putting that early. I would imagine doing that like at the beginning of the year helps everybody involved because your team knows, you know that you've already communicated it, so you don't have to wait until like the week before and then say, "Oh, I hope somebody approves my PTO," because it's really not negotiable on
Right,
that.
so I used to
So,
copy, Bobby, Dawn, whoever was in charge at the time, and then
hmm,
remind certain people who shall
hmm.
remain nameless, and and then I would get text messages like on a Saturday afternoon at 7 o'clock in the summer. Is it over yet? Well, did you look out your window? Because it's not
Has
dark
the
yet.
sun gone down?
7:30. Is it over yet? It's still not dark.
Wow, you're getting messages on Saturday. Woof. Okay. Well, in addition to being a proactive communicator and really doing that, are there activities that you do to continually raise your own PQ?
Absolutely. I'm constantly reading articles about how to do better. I'm constantly reading up on administrative skill sets, and do I want to go to an admin conference? No. I'm 64. I'm sundowning my career. I don't want to go to any more trainings, but I'm always interested in, reading the articles about how to use Adobe Creative Cloud to better myself, and how can I create new documents in Canva, or how can I create something new, or update a PDF that I had from last year that I don't need to change anything except the quantities and the numbers, because we're ordering the same novels for fourth grade, but I just need to change it from 23 to 27. And oh, look, it's the same price. I just need to change the multiplication. I don't even need to reinvent the wheel. I just need to change the multiplication.
Hmm. Hey, that's good. Anything that
So,
you can leverage from before,
right,
so we're not recreating the wheel, is a
right.
win-win.
So I'm always looking at stuff like that. I'm always trying to upgrade my own skill set. But, my husband has recently purchased a second monitor for me at home at our cost. And I've decided that I can really enjoy working at home like 2 days a week over the summer. And I'm still working. My email's open over here. I've closed it now, so it's not distracting me. But my email's open over here, and I can watch my email from here just fine and still kind of be chill here because there's not, unless I'm ordering, supplies or curriculum, I don't need to be sitting at my desk at school letting everybody question me. They can text me or call me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it helps to have those multiple screens or whatever we need to do to create our own home environment so that we're most productive. I know I love being able to work from home on my days because I can control the lights, I can control the sound, and basically I create a very um, inclusive environment for the way my brain works. And
Right.
so that's something that I feel so many people are really embracing more and more now. We're in that day and age where more and more people are working remotely at times, if not all the time. And so really creating those environments that help us maximize our success is a good thing for sure. When it comes to working in a school, what if somebody's listening to this and they're thinking, you know what, I've got skills like Karen has where I can remember things. I like to be behind the scenes working things. What advice would you give them if they were looking at you saying, I want to do what Karen does?
Do you want to do what I do? You keep applying, apply to a school and show them that you can learn to be just apply, get in the door and show them your worth. Show them that you can, be the one that goes, I remember last year when we did this, that's not how we did it. We did it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you tell me that the water heater was broken? Why am I not getting hot water again? Shouldn't that be a repair that's covered by the last repair? I
Mm-hmm.
saved us a bunch of money on that one, by the way.
Nice, nice.
Not a bad thing for a school. And they were like, "Oh yeah, we did get that fixed last year." Just get in the door, and remember things. The city of Dallas has got our street shut down right now for construction. It's been shut down since just before winter break. We are unable to park in our main parking lot unless we have security to open up a very infrequently used gate. With security the way it is, we have to have a guard at the gate at all
Mm-hmm.
times. So somebody asked this morning, well, when is the parking lot B going to be opened? And I said, well, you need to ask the city of Dallas or Nick, our operations manager, but probably not until we come back for in-service when we have a second security person. And they
Mm-hmm.
went, well, why? And I said, well, you need to ask again, Dallas City. And they went, oh, okay. And they're like, but why? I said, again, City of Dallas didn't ask us when they started this construction project, could we start over the summer? No, they went for it before winter break and it's still under construction. They still haven't put the lights up on the east side of Merritt Drive. So we have zero access to our main gate. We're coming in only through our high school gate or through the Coit gate through high school and not using any other gates right now over the summer because we only have one security guard.
Well, at least there's that, and it's not a full school.
Right. And that's why I'm home today. And I'm like, I don't need to be there. It's one less person for the security guard to worry about. One less car.
Absolutely.
My car's in the garage staying nice and cool.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate your time with us today, Karen. I love for our guests before we go to have a spotlight of anything they would like to spotlight. Do you have anything that you'd like to shine a light on?
Shine a light on, shine a light on, shine a light on. Bring them home now. There are still 10 hostages that have been in the ground for 661 days in
Mm,
tunnels without light.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For
Bring
sure.
them home now.
Mm,
How's that?
absolutely. That works. Absolutely. Thank
Thanks for
you.
the opportunity.
Thank you, Karen. And I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today and share your history, your career journey, And really, I think all these conversations really help to kind of showcase what it is people do in different fields. And so that was really one of the missions of this podcast, is really just to highlight, just basically give information about what roles look like. So when somebody says they work in administration in a school, now somebody's going to have a little bit clearer idea of what that actually means. Because that I think sometimes when we hear titles, we just chunk them into the junk drawer of I have no idea what that really means, and we walk away. And so that's kind of the point of this, is really education. So I appreciate you, Karen.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And for our audience, if you've enjoyed this conversation, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave a positive review. And also remember that unlike our IQ or our EQ, we can really easily raise our PQ every single day. Just keep learning, building, and connecting. Until next time.